Hey guys, CDTVThaG here, and the G, of course, stands for Going Baby on... I've used that one before. What other lyrics? What other lyrics does DaBaby have, like, on the hook or something that starts with a G? G. And the G stands for Got 30,000 in My Joggers. And today, we're going to be reacting to DaBaby's newest album, KIRK. Now, I do have a little bit of a cold today because my immune system is terrible, so I don't know how much that's going to come through in my voice. If it comes through a lot, I apologize for that in advance. But I'm excited to hear this album because DaBaby is quite an interesting artist for me. Like, I think he has this certain likability to pretty much everything that he does, whether it's his music videos or his actual rapping. I think he just has a very likable element to it, but he can be pretty one note with his sound. Like, I think it's no secret, everyone at this point is making memes about how his flow is essentially the same on almost every song, and that's something I can't disagree with. It is, but up to this point, I haven't had too much of a problem with it. Like, it's something I would like to see improve on this project, but up to this point, I haven't had too much of an issue with it because I do find his music enjoyable. Like, Baby on Baby was a very fun project in my opinion, but for this project, all I want to see is some growth, basically. I think from the way that this one is presented, I'm definitely expecting it to be something a little more personal. The name of the album is DaBaby's real life last name. The cover photo for it is him as a baby, so all that's setting you up to say that this is going to be a more personal album. Whether he actually goes through with that and actually puts a lot of that in the music, I guess I'm about to find out in a minute. I really just want something different from DaBaby, especially with what he's promised for this album. Now, I know, like, I'm a fan of Logic, so I know that rappers, even if you like them, you have to take what they say about their albums that are coming out with a grain of salt. So that's what I'm doing with this, because DaBaby has said that this album is this generation's the Carter 3. He said, I believe he said at one point that this album would essentially make him be remembered as the Tupac of this generation. So he's making very big claims. I'm gonna go into this project not believing that because I don't want to set my expectations too high. I've believed rappers on their promises about their albums before, and it's never ended up good, most of the time. Let's start with track number 1, as you do with albums, the intro.
Thinking about my grandmama and shit. I got the #1 record, they acknowledge the jig. They going crazy when they play it, head bobbing and shit.
Of course, he just starts rapping straight away.
Before I started to the same day, I flew back to the city from Miami. Looking at my door, thinking to myself like, damn, my baby looks just like my dad. Same time I got the news, my shit was #1, that's fucked up. That shit that was confusing a little bit. I left them KIRK, you know I rock behind my dad. You know I never gave a fuck about the words, it's about my fan. How the fuck I make it to the top? Same day I lost a nigga that had a nigga perform on BET.
Oh my god, okay. We're getting content straight away from this first track. Already, from this first track, I'm learning stuff that I didn't know about DaBaby, because now that I'm thinking about it, there's not a lot I actually know about this man's life, and he's revealing some of it on this track. I'm talking about how he lost his dad just as he was starting to come up in the music game. So far, like, just from the start of it, it's kind of reflecting that feeling of blowing up, doing what you want to do, and being successful at it, but losing people at the same time, and how that can be quite conflicting because you're pretty much getting everything you've wanted to achieve in terms of success, but you're losing people close to you. Already, I'm pleased with where this one is going. This sounds great.
Cash, you know about smiling everything for all your fans, like you have. I spent 100,000, let my daddy the rest, but I ain't bragging. Respect if I don't get asked. My mama stood up in their chest, took it like a G when she had cancer. My brother be thinking that we don't let them struggle like we ain't fan. Like I won't give up, all I got to see you happy, nigga. Let's raise our kids right, let's watch the shit we teach them, nigga. Let's start a business for you so they can't say that you leeching, nigga. And I do it myself, whenever I ride, you know that my brothers right. And I still got a lot of shit on my mind that I can't undecide. You know how I got it about the mud and turned it to gravy, nigga. It hit the rap game like crack cocaine in the 80s, nigga.
Sounds kinda hungry on that second verse. Really good way to start this one off. That actually might be one of my favorite DaBaby tracks that I've heard so far. Lyrically, the tone of the beat, it was all pretty different to everything I've heard from him. It says right here that DaBaby revealed that he was informed of his father's passing just moments before his manager informed him that his debut album, Baby on Baby, had reached #1 on Apple Music. Yeah, that explains some of the lyrics here, talking about how just as he got to, like, pretty much the peak of his success so far, he lost one of the people closest to him, and that's got to be very conflicting emotionally, and I'm glad that he's touching on more emotional topics on this one. You know, it feels like we're getting to know DaBaby a little bit more and get to know a bit more about him. I love the more personal touch. Still had a catchy chorus as well. For a more introspective track, it had a catchy hook. DaBaby's flow was on point. That was an introspective intro. Very good song. Love that one. So let's move to the next one. Track number 2, Off the Rip.
Straight off the rip, you know I don't wait for the drop. Off the rip, I go out to eat with my kids and my mama. You know I ain't dating no pop. I'm just a little nigga from Charlotte, the biggest new artist. They wanna see me up the road with my lawyer, fool, we dismissing the charge. You know BDB and T, we gon' pull up Infinity's challenge a charge. You know about baby, all the shit these nigga rapping about, that nigga really bout. And no, I ain't taking advice from a nigga. I'm cool on that, I got it figured out. Why you talking so low? Cause if a nigga find out and he try me, I'm knocking a nigga off. I'm riding past 12, fly through fast as hell, flicking the nigga off. I'm kicking shit, and I'm still the best rapper.
Okay, let's chill with the best rapper talk for a second. You gotta prove it, not just say it. More typical DaBaby sound on this one. Very short track, under 2 minutes. It was just boom, boom, boom. Very prominent 808s. The usual flow that he uses on a lot of his songs. But the thing is, there's something about like that style that is still kind of infectious to me. Like, I've heard him rap like this before so much, and I still enjoyed this song. I still think it had a lot of energy and momentum to it. Again, I hope that the whole album isn't like this song, but it's good to have ones like this throughout it. I thought it was a fun song. And in typical DaBaby fashion, both of the tracks so far have just started instantly. It's almost like there's no wasted time on a DaBaby song. So let's move on to the next one. Track number 3, Bop. Let's see if it is a bop.
I mean it like ever since baby on baby drop, man. Ever since baby on baby drop, ain't nobody drop shit.
I'ma have to disagree.
I got me a milli, I did it legitly. I'm still with the shits, I'm a hot nigga. Oh, you asking for pictures with niggas? What's your name? Get the fuck out the spot, nigga. Hi. I needed some shit with some bop in it. I flew past the whip with that blunt in my mouth, watched it swerving. That whip had a cop in it. Hey, when you gon' switch the flow? I thought you never asked. Niggas ain't fucking with me.
It's a legit question.
I woke up a couple mil on my
I mean, it's not a bad song. It still went pretty hard, but again, that's another one that could fit in with the baby on baby sound. I just feel like I need something that will stand out a little more. He had a little reference in the second verse to people like asking him to switch his flow. Hey, when you gonna switch the flow? I thought you'd never ask. I don't know if that's him just kind of like sarcastically like dismissing people that say that, or if he genuinely thought he was switching his flow in that point in the song, but he wasn't. And I think it's a legitimate thing to ask, like, when are you going to switch the flow? Because it's good to have, I guess, like an identifiable flow so that people know it's you, but I think it has a really short shelf life if you're flowing the exact same way on every single song. It's one that sort of reminded me of Going Baby. I mean, this is the 3rd track on KIRK, and that was the 3rd track on Baby, I believe. It didn't sound exactly the same, but similar instrumentation. So let's move on to the next one. Hopefully we get something a little different here. It's track number 4, Vibes. Okay, it sounds like it's gonna be typical Baby, but beat sounds quite hard.
Fill him with vibes, get him in ride. No, a nigga not blind, but I keep the stick in on fire.
His flow reminds me of Migos at a lot of points.
I'm about to go buy me a coupe. Pull up, make the doors raise the roof. Louis V on me for yes, sir. I thought with a pole like a tree. Hopped on that. We gon' fill him up with vibes.
Tracks start and finish so fast. I imagine if you're listening to each song on this album back to back, it's just gonna like just constantly be each track just flowing into each other quite nicely. So I guess that's something to point out. More of standard DaBaby on Vibes, but I did like how hard the beat was on this one. It's more of that kind of Triller music style that DaBaby specializes in. Like legit, I think his music is pretty much made for Triller. It was enjoyable, but again, more of the same. But let's move on to track number 5. We have our first feature on the album on this song. It's Popstar featuring Kevin Gates.
They probably tell you I went pop until a nigga play with me and he get pop. Yeah, I'm on front row at BET without my Glock. To dumb it down for them to bite, now it's time to switch. Okay. I corner smooth with my little baby, but I could've came with your boo. That bitch is knocking at my door like they was dominoes. They gon' say I went pop. I sell a lot of Betty.
God damn. Kevin Gates has so much force in his voice. It's insane.
Concentrate, boom, it's that bass making great sound. Got a graveyard up on my belt, more murders than no missing.
Production's pretty nice on this one. Can't complain about it. I'm not gonna lie, like I said, I wasn't, you know, buying everything DaBaby said on this one, but 5 tracks in, I don't know if this is going to be remembered like the Carter 3. I mean, confession, I've never actually listened to the Carter 3. It's been on my list of things to listen to for a long ass time. At least not the whole way through. I've listened to a lot of songs off it, but not the whole thing. This album, so far, it doesn't feel like it's going to have the same cultural impact. So I'm glad that the beat sounded a little different on this one. There was the occasional melodic line or two on this song, which was nice. Something a little different on the delivery. It's weird. It's starting to become like diminishing returns. It's the more I listen to DaBaby, the less and less my interest in him goes down, you know? Or the more my interest in him goes down. Like, it was really fun and exciting at first, but at this point I'm just like, okay, when's it gonna change? Kevin Gates was pretty cool on here, I guess. Kevin Gates for me is an interesting rapper because I do think he's like pretty talented, but I just can't get into his music. I feel like I'm not the biggest fan of how bassy and deep his voice is. There's something about the way his music sounds that's just never really appealed to me, even if he does have quite a few catchy and enjoyable songs and some very hard songs. I've just never been able to listen to an album from him, but on this feature he was pretty nice. The song was something different, but it's also not something I think I'm gonna listen to a whole lot. Intro is still the king of this album. So, track number 6. Oh boy. We've got Gospel featuring Chance the Rapper, Gucci Mane, and YK Osiris. This is, I don't know where this is gonna go. I don't know where this one's gonna go. The person I'm most interested about on this one is Chance the Rapper. Please, Chance, show us that the big day was just a fluke, and it's not how you permanently sound now. If it's the big day, Chance, on this one, if this is Hot Shower Part 2, if this is Hot Shower Part 2, I'm done. What does this remind me of? That reminds me of something. It's like an old school hip hop track. Does this sample something?
I lost my daddy the same week that they lost Nipsey. Ain't got no love left in my heart, my shit be empty. I came from shit 3 years, my mom, she couldn't pay rent. 2 jobs all alone, she couldn't quit. We was home alone when we was shit. I spent 30K on my daughter's birthday, everybody had fun, nigga, everybody lit. When a nigga go home, I'll answer my phone, everybody want leech, everybody want alone. Praise to the Lord, I've been talking on my knees. I've been thinking about my pops, I've been thinking about my ops, thinking how I can stop me a nigga when he breathe. When a nigga play with me, I ain't looking for my
chopping it up, my god. DaBaby killed that. YK Osiris sounds good on this one too.
And you ran in my place. Shoes too big, but they use hair strands as a lace. And they break. When it's hot outside, that's cooling. Taking these DD breaks long. The PD way, I can write a book like TJ.
Okay, Chance still has it in my opinion. That was a good verse.
It ain't right how they all went left for me. Niggas took my...
I have heard that bar in so many rap songs recently, and it's like a filler line. Like, rappers don't throw that in and think, oh my god, that's hard. Like, they put it in as a filler bar, but I've heard it so much that it's just getting on my nerves at this point. I even heard it on Post Malone's album, Ever Since You Left, Things Were Never Right. Gucci says here, it ain't right how they all went and left on me. We get it. Right and lefts are opposites, and you're gonna put that in your bars. I'm getting heated over, like, small lines, but oh, everything was right, that's when you left. It's just making me melt.
Flipping quarters on a corner to a baller. Run up on Gucci, you gon' see the coroner. So long, I keep on nothing.
Okay, Gospel was one of the best tracks on here so far. Definitely gave me a bit more of an intro vibe again. Not only because it had more of that soulful sound on it, but because, you know, DaBaby brought up his father's passing again. In this song, he revealed that it happened the same week that Nipsey Hussle died, so we can assume that was around March this year. The beat was different, the hook was different, we had a few features. Everything about this made it feel like a much more fleshed out and a much more thought out track. And DaBaby's flow on the verse as well. It was so constant and non-stop and really fast as well. And I liked it. It just really gave you that feeling that he was confidently killing this track. Thank God we got a decent Chance the Rapper verse on here. I actually liked what Chance did on here. Gucci as well. Gucci fit in with the beat. The only thing that slightly triggered me was that right, left bar. So overall, that was one of my favorite tracks on this project so far. This and Intro have stood out as like the key tracks on this project to me so far. So let's move on to track number 7. Over halfway through the project now, we have DaBaby and Nicki Minaj with the song iPhone.
She gon' make me side down everything I've been through. Something only I know. She begging me stay over, please. I gotta leave, boo. I don't wanna mislead you. I just wanna please you.
Then I'm gonna dub him. Cause to be honest, I put my side nigga above him. Tell him that I know that he creeping with that hoe. I said, call me and beat that with my respect when you niggas.
Oh, she's going with the DaBaby flow too.
Better get one and pick if you buy it and you get the picture, ain't talking to pose. I mean, who doing it like we doing it.
Ireland, you're gonna be doubling back. Bars, homie. DaBaby and Nicki was a interesting mix, but I think they worked together fairly well. I know there's a lot of people that really dislike Nicki Minaj guest verses overall, because a few times I've asked people on like Twitter and stuff, like, who do you think has the worst feature verses out there? And so many people say Nicki Minaj, but honestly, I think as far as rap features go, I think she's actually pretty good if you take everything into consideration, because you can see it on this verse. Like, she had a lot of different deliveries, she switched up her flow a couple times, she had some singing parts, some straight up rapping parts. Yeah, she occasionally has some like cringy lines and stuff like that, and some like forced sounding deliveries some of the time, but I think on tracks like this she's really solid overall. Maybe she could teach, you know, DaBaby a lesson or two on flow switches. The most melodic one on this album so far, for sure. Really like the instrumental for it. Cool song, but again, like, so far it's not really an album that screams best rapper alive or best rapper ever to me. So shifting on to track number 8, we have Toes featuring Lil Baby and Moneybagg Yo.
Mars so cold, I think I'm done with ice.
They started before the beat even came on.
I'm talking diamonds, bro. Came from the bottom, toes. Yeah, back in.
Oh, Kenny Beats. Okay. The beat gives me a little bit of a Ski Mask vibe. Like, Ski Mask and Kenny Beats, such a good collab. I'm trying to make it deposit. Then I'm trying to pay with the money. Shawty gon' take all your night. I call them racks, not bands. Ain't no rubber band on mine. And I big speaker like an 18-inch sword. I'm 100, you a dub. Oh, the 808s are coming in now.
Better not pull up with no knife, cause I bring guns to fight. Say you got that sack, I got that sack, but ain't no ones of mine.
First thing I want to say is the production on that one was by Queen 60s and, or Queen 6, how do you pronounce that? Queen 60s? Queen 68s? And Kenny Beats. This whole song, it was just really fun. This for me was probably the most enjoyable like banger style song on this project so far. Everyone on this track I think contributed really nicely to it. It's definitely clicked for me at this point that I think my main problem with songs like Off the Rip or Bop is that the production sounds very similar to what DaBaby's done before, and it's not just the flow, it's definitely clicking with me now. And I think on this one, even though his flow was similar, the beat was just so fun and just had this really kind of carefree vibe to it that the track was just really enjoyable no matter what he was flowing like. Definitely one of my favorites on this project. So let's move on to track number 9, Really, featuring Stunna for VIBEZ, who DaBaby and him have a few tracks together, so I'm assuming they're pretty close, I guess. I don't know, but they make songs together. Sounding like a Tyga beat.
Let's go. They wanna know if he can rap, and tell him really. Tell my bitches call me cause I done finally got a million. I know the password, so that ain't me if they respawn on my Twitter. I got that hot shit, these niggas gotta go rewind it to hear. I stood on that block like Meek Millie. Red, blue faces, you know my pockets crippin'.
I don't have too much to say about these tracks at this point, but I definitely think the banger tracks on this second half of the album have been more enjoyable to me than the ones in the first half. They definitely stepped it up a little bit in the production, in my opinion, compared to Off the Rip, Bop, and VIBEZ. These last two tracks, they've been some fun bangers. Stunna for VIBEZ, he doesn't personally sound like someone that I would listen to a whole lot, but he had a cool verse on the track. Can't complain about it. Like, there hasn't really been any bad features so far, so that's something that's pretty good. So let's move on to track number 10, PROLLY Hard.
I don't know what you know, I ain't running from no. Let's go. These bitches be waiting in line.
Oh, that is the 808s from Suge, like, exactly. Come on, man.
Slamming the hoe like a Modell. She want money for pussy, bitch, no deal. No, you can bet if I focus. No, I'm the first one to come out of Charlotte. Okay, you know I put on for that phone.
That song, it literally just sounded like DaBaby searched up Suge type beat on YouTube, took it, and then essentially made Suge Part 2. For me personally, I don't know, it kind of ruined the song because we've legit heard this before. Exactly. It was just really distracting for me, honestly. Like, I couldn't focus on anything else in the song because I was just like, damn, this man really just made another song that he's already made on the last project that came out earlier this year. Not a great song in my opinion. Track number 11, the last one with features on the project, we have Raw Shit featuring Migos.
She eat up the 2 bottle screwball like ice cream. You know what designer with Nike. I smell it.
What was that line? Who you know wear designer with Nike? Like every rapper, I'm pretty sure. Have you ever watched Sneaker Shopping with Complex? All they buy is Nikes and they're wearing designer while they do it.
Say they want some of that truck talk. I get a brick, let it move. Brick, the case you selling, but it's still talk. I lift my arm and chain the weather. Turn a bitch from none to a Cinderella. Ain't in the UPS or with the FedEx, but a nigga be packing it. Ain't tryna brag up, supposed to tell on Sunday, I don't know, but a nigga be having it. Yeah, my bitch is the baddest, I'm bragging. It's plastic. They say they want some of that raw shit.
We've hit that point. We've hit that point where I've just hit a wall. I'm just ready for the album to end at this point. I like Migos, but I don't think that any of them necessarily gave a standout verse on here. Quavo, whatever. Takeoff, whatever. Offset. The beat wasn't crazy. DaBaby, I'm just kind of honestly a little bit bored of at this point. I've never got so interested by a rapper's charisma and then lost interest in him at the end of the year. There's a couple of the best tracks DaBaby has ever made on this, but the rest of it just there's some growth on this project. There's some growth for sure, but so much of it just feels like just the same shit. So let's move on to the second last track on KIRK. Track number 12, There He Go.
Hey, now I'm somewhere in the meeting, get my ass kicked. No homo by a white man, cause his daughter
A no homo ad lib.
Came back with that bag, bitch. I sold 45K in a 4-5, so I sag, bitch. If a fat bitch know how to get some money, I fuck a fat bitch. I give a fan a high five at the airport, she did a backflip. I just went platinum and I'm coming back.
Okay, that was funny.
Looking for me.
This one has an interesting sound to it.
Your hustle, get it out the mud, I've been there. Man, I'm so tired of nigga talking about who broke like we ain't all come from the bottom. We came up, I give them
Okay. Definitely one of the better songs on here. I like the production on that one. The chorus was pretty interesting with those kind of background voices. I couldn't exactly make out what they were saying. The second half of what they were saying was just there he go over and over again. I couldn't make out the first part. It was something at least a little bit different, which I can appreciate. Beat was hard. DaBaby went pretty hard over it. It was nothing that I thought was amazing, but it was a good song. So let's move on to the final track on KIRK, track number 13, XXL. DaBaby, of course, being a 2019 XXL freshman. Oh, and that's good to know. Just looked at the Rap Genius description of the song. Lyrically, DaBaby's XXL is an exact replica of his freestyle from the XXL freshman cypher in July 2019. Why do rappers have such a hard-on for ending albums with stuff you've already heard before? To be fair, I don't know why I'm complaining. I haven't heard the ciphers yet, so it's not even really something I should be complaining about, but it is kind of annoying that he's ending this project that is supposedly so amazing with something that is just his cypher verse. I've heard that his cypher verse was hard, so I guess I'm about to find out if that's true or not, but yeah. Kind of sucks that he used the cypher verse on this album. But I guess at least he's transparent about it, you know, calling the track XXL.
I got in with that stick and I'm with that. Break a nigga and half like a Kit Kat. I've been trying to be positive, mom. Next nigga that come play with me, I'ma send him to go ask Tupac for a pick. Bitch, they say I'm not this new nigga.
Okay, that was a hard line.
Every time that the DJ play, show niggas throw up their arms like a motherfucking racetrack. Every time that my baby girl see me, she run and say, Daddy, I love when she say that. They gon' have to put me with the greats. Wanna fuck with me, she gotta wait. Bitch, on the yacht with me and the kids. 4 of us. We on the scene state.
It's impressively long if that's his whole cypher verse. That's a long cypher verse, so I can appreciate that. But it was the same flow for the whole thing pretty much, so I didn't think it was that crazy. I'm interested to hear how different this verse sounds on the XXL cypher, because if this whole thing, if all the rapping is a cypher verse, then that's a pretty long cypher. But I don't know if it works as well in a track, you know, like this was pretty much just the same flow all throughout it. I personally didn't find that super entertaining, and the beat wasn't necessarily anything crazy. You know, it was alright, but nothing too insane. And I'm glad that at the end of the track, he finally said he's gonna stop talking about how he's the best rapper ever, because I don't know if he's trying to make that a thing, but in my opinion, no offense, like I said, I like DaBaby, but he's not even close. Not even close to the best rapper. In my opinion, of course, that's just my opinion. So that's us done with KIRK. So let's jump into my overall thoughts about the album. So, starting off by addressing all the claims DaBaby has made about this and my thoughts on those claims. Is DaBaby the best rapper ever? No. Does this album feel like it's going to be remembered in history like the Carter 3 is? No. Does this album feel like it's on the level of Tupac, or, you know, even have the same cultural significance as Tupac? No. This to me, and this is kind of a word that gets tossed around a lot, but this to me is a perfect example of just a very mid project. It's not awful, there's some catchy songs on here and it does have a lot of energy to it, but it's really not as interesting to me as it appeared like it would be. It definitely looked like it was going to be something completely different for DaBaby. Just the way he packaged this, the presentation of it all, it looks like something that's going to have a more personal touch. And it did in some aspects, of course, because, you know, the intro track where he talked about the loss of his father, he talked about all the other members of his family, and Gospel as well, where he touched on similar topics. Those two really were like the highlights. Those two were the tracks that, in my opinion, pretty much the only tracks on here that fit what the cover and the title of the album represents. I think after the intro track, it's clear that the name of the album, KIRK, didn't come so much from DaBaby's own last name being KIRK, but rather his father's last name, the person who had the family name before him. Because that intro track was very much a dedication to his father, and I'm assuming that this project is, and that's why this project has DaBaby's father and DaBaby as a baby on the cover. But yeah, it just looks like an album that's gonna touch on so much more and is gonna go a lot deeper than it does, but as you can tell from this reaction, it didn't really do that. I learned a few new things about DaBaby, which I do appreciate, but outside of those, you don't really learn anything new about this man. You don't necessarily hear anything new from this man, and it's to the point where I'm tired of hearing these DaBaby style songs that are just made for the Triller app. So real quick, let's do what we always do at the end of these videos and run through my favourite and least favourite tracks on this project. So for favourite songs, obviously you already know Intro and Gospel are on there, no question. I'd also say Toes, Really. I think that's it for my favourite tracks, honestly. As for least favourite songs, this one's a bit harder because for me there wasn't too much that was bad on here, there was just a lot of mediocreness. Double XL, I might say raw shit because I as someone who likes Migos and usually likes what they do, that track was kind of disappointing. And PROLLY is definitely one of my least favorites as well. So yeah, overall it's kind of a shame because I really wanted to come into this and love this project, but it's one that's actually just diminished my my enjoyment of DaBaby's music further. This album artwork and album title doesn't exactly scream Baby on Baby Part 2, but that's really the vibe that a lot of these songs gave off to me. In my opinion, I actually think I would probably say that Baby on Baby was a better project than this one for me. And I guess some of that does have to do with expectations and how the albums were presented. To look at it in a more positive light, there is some growth on some tracks on here. I think if he continues to go in that direction in the future and continues to do things like that, he could really improve and get closer to that best rapper title that he seems really fond of. So that's what I have to say for KIRK by DaBaby. Let me know what you guys thought about it in the comments down below. Did you love it? Were you not a fan of it so much? I'd be interested to see what you guys think and what your favorite tracks and least favorite tracks were. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I will see you all in the next one, and this is CDTVThaG. Unfortunately with the code, I'm hoping it goes away soon. Signing out.